Hey there, lore enthusiasts. Welcome back to The Lore Room. I'm Avery.
And I'm Eden. And today we are diving deep into one of the most iconic factions in all of Warhammer 40,000, the Space Marines.
Oh man, where do we even start with these guys? Like, they're literally the poster boys of 40K, right? The Adeptus Astartes, humanity's genetically engineered super soldiers.
Right? And that's what's so cool about them. They're not just regular soldiers with better gear, they're literally post-human. Like, these guys have been surgically and genetically modified to be living weapons.
Exactly. And for anyone who's new to 40K, these are the guys you see on every box cover, every poster, 8 feet tall, clad in power armor, wielding those iconic bolters. But the lore behind them, oh boy, it gets dark. It gets really dark.
So dark. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. We need to talk about the Emperor of Mankind, because that's where this whole story starts.
Ah yes, the Big E himself. So picture this. It's the late 30th millennium. Humanity has been scattered across the galaxy, isolated for thousands of years during something called the Age of Strife. And then this immortal, godlike being emerges and says, hey, I'm gonna reunite humanity under my rule.
And to do that, he basically creates, 20 superhuman sons? The Primarchs.
20 Primarchs, yeah. Each one was like, think of them as the ultimate expression of different aspects of the Emperor's will and genius. You had Horus, who was the charismatic war master, Leman Russ, the savage wolf king, Roboute Guilliman, the tactical genius.
Don't forget Aingron, the angry one, with, let's just say he had anger management issues. Wait, let's actually dig into some of these Primarchs a bit more, because each one is absolutely fascinating in their own tragic way. Like, take Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels. He grew up alone in the forests of Caliban, hunting chaos beasts.
And then there's Vulkan of the Salamanders, who was raised on a volcanic death world called Nocturne. He's probably the most human of all the Primarchs, actually cared about regular people, believed in protecting civilians. And Conrad Kurz, the Night Haunter, that's a dark one, grew up in the crime-ridden hive city of Nostrum, became basically a vigilante who used terror and fear as weapons.
And the tragedy is that some of these guys, their upbringing basically predetermined their fall to chaos. Lorgar grew up on a religious world and became obsessed with worship, which eventually led him to the Chaos Gods. Perturabo was stuck doing all the dirty siege work and never got recognition, so he became bitter and resentful.
That's putting it mildly. But here's the thing. The Chaos Gods, these malevolent entities from the warp, they scattered these Primarch babies across the galaxy. Each one landed on a different world and grew up in wildly different circumstances.
Which honestly explains so much about their personalities. Like, if you grow up on a death world where everything is trying to kill you, you're gonna turn out different than someone who grows up on a civilized world, right?
Absolutely. And meanwhile, the Emperor is using their genetic material, their gene seed, to create the Legiones Astartes. These were the original Space Marine legions. 20 legions, each reflecting their Primarchs traits.
Okay, but let's talk about what it actually means to become a Space Marine, because this isn't like you don't just sign up and get some training. This is full-on body horror, medical procedures.
Oh yeah, it's intense. So first off, they typically recruit young males, usually from brutal, high mortality worlds. Kids who've already proven they can survive impossible odds.
The recruitment process is it's brutal. Like, most candidates die. They call them aspirants, and they put these kids through trials that would kill grown men. The Space Wolves make them hunt giant wolves on Fenris. The Blood Angels have them survive in the radioactive wastelands of Baal.
The success rate is something like maybe 1 in 100, and that's just to survive the initial trials. Then you have to survive the surgery, the implantation process, years of conditioning, and even then, some of them reject the gene seed and become failed Space Marines, or worse, mutate into something horrible.
And then, this part always gets me. They implant 19 specialized organs. 19! each one derived from their Primarch's gene seed.
It's like, imagine getting a second heart, enhanced lungs, organs that let you eat poison and survive, enhanced healing. Oh, and they can actually eat people's brains and absorb their memories.
Wait, what? They can do that?
Yeah, it's called the homophagia. Super gross, but tactically useful, I guess. And that's not even getting into the psychological conditioning. These guys have fear literally purged from their minds.
The result is, well, they're barely human anymore. 8 feet tall, superhuman strength, can survive in space for short periods, and absolutely fanatically loyal to the Emperor.
Which brings us to probably the most important event in Space Marine history, the Horus Heresy.
Oh no. This is where it all goes wrong, isn't it?
So wrong. Okay, so the Great Crusade is winding down. The Emperor names his favorite son, Horus, as War Master. Basically puts him in charge of the entire military.
And Horus was the golden boy, right? Like, everyone respected him, he was charismatic, brilliant tactically.
Exactly, which made his fall so much worse. The Chaos Gods corrupted him, played on his insecurities, his jealousy, and half the legions followed him into rebellion.
9 legions turned traitor? 9! That's like half of the Emperor's entire military force. Brother fighting brother on a galactic scale.
And it all culminated in the Siege of Terra. Horus actually made it to Earth, to the Emperor's doorstep. The final confrontation between father and son. The Emperor defeated Horus, but was mortally wounded in the process.
And now he's basically a corpse on a throne, right? The Golden Throne keeps him technically alive, but he can't really communicate or lead anymore.
Which changed everything for the Space Marines. After the heresy, they broke up the surviving loyal legions into smaller units called chapters. Each chapter has about 1,000 Marines.
Smart move, honestly. Like, you don't want another situation where one person can command 100,000 Space Marines and potentially turn them all traitor.
Exactly. And each chapter develops its own culture, traditions, combat doctrines, but they're all bound by the Codex Astartes, which was written by Roboute Guilliman. Actually, let's talk about some of the most famous chapters that came out of this reorganization, because they're all so different. You've got the Ultramarines, who follow Guilliman's Codex to the letter. They're like the gold standard, the poster boys.
Then you have the Blood Angels, who are, well, they're cursed. They have this thing called the Red Thirst, where they literally crave blood. And some of them fall to the Black Rage, where they think they're their Primarch Sanguinius dying all over again. It's horrifying, but also tragic.
And the Space Wolves. Oh man, they basically said screw your Codex, Guilliman, and kept doing their own thing. They're organized into great companies instead of the standard organization. They drink, they feast, they have wolf companions. They're like space Vikings.
Oh, and we should mention, there are new kids on the block now, the Primaris Space Marines.
Right, so in the current timeline, the 41st millennium, Guilliman actually got resurrected, and he brought with him these new, improved Space Marines. Primaris Marines are even bigger, stronger, with additional gene seed organs.
Which, okay, let's talk weapons, because these guys have some of the most iconic weapons in all of sci-fi.
The bolter. Oh man, the bolter is just, it's perfect. It fires these self-propelled explosive rounds called bolts. They penetrate the target and then detonate inside them.
It's basically a rocket launcher disguised as a rifle. And for melee combat, chain swords, which are exactly what they sound like, chainsaw swords.
Don't forget power weapons. These have energy fields that disrupt molecular bonds, so they can cut through pretty much anything. Power fists can literally crush tanks.
And plasma weapons. Super powerful, but they have a tendency to overheat and kill the user. Risk versus reward.
We should talk about their vehicles too. Like, these guys don't just walk everywhere. They have Rhino APCs, Land Raiders that can punch through pretty much any defense, and Predator tanks. Oh, and the Dreadnoughts.
Oh, dreadnoughts are
so cool and so sad at the same time. When a space marine is mortally wounded but still has value, they entomb him in this walking sarcophagus. He becomes part machine, can sleep for centuries between battles, and when he wakes up, everyone he knew is probably dead. It's like being a living relic.
Speaking of battles, we should mention some of the most famous Space Marine campaigns, like the Badab War, where Space Marine chapters actually fought each other again, or the Armageddon Wars, where the Space Wolves and Inquisition almost came to blows over civilian casualties.
And we can't forget some of the legendary individual Space Marines, like Captain Titus of the Ultramarines, Marnius Calgar, Logan Grimnar of the Space Wolves. These guys have become legends in their own right. Some have been fighting for hundreds of years, seeing things that would break normal humans.
What's really interesting is how Space Marines interact with regular Imperial forces. Like, to an Imperial Guard regiment, a single Space Marine is basically a living legend walking among them. But sometimes there's tension, regular soldiers dying by the millions, while 1,000 Space Marines get all the glory.
And from the Space Marines' perspective, they genuinely believe they're humanity's last hope. Every battle could be the one that decides whether a world lives or dies, whether humanity continues to exist. That kind of pressure, it explains a lot about their fanaticism and their willingness to make impossible sacrifices.
Speaking of leadership, these chapters have really interesting command structures. You've got the chapter master at the top, then captains leading individual companies.
Chaplains for spiritual guidance, which in 40K, spiritual guidance basically means scream about the Emperor while hitting things with a power mail.
And librarians, who are psychic warriors. Oh, and tech marines, who they go trained with the Adeptus Mechanicus on Mars. They come back knowing how to commune with machine spirits and repair everything.
What really gets me about Space Marines is that they're not the heroes of this universe. Like, yeah, they're defending humanity, but they're fanatical zealots defending a decaying fascist empire.
Exactly. They'll burn entire worlds to stop a hint of heresy. They worship the Emperor as a god, even though he specifically didn't want to be worshipped. It's tragic, really.
And that's what makes them such compelling characters. They're simultaneously humanity's greatest hope and kind of its greatest tragedy. These perfect warriors defending an empire that's slowly falling apart.
In a galaxy that literally knows only war? Man, we could talk about Space Marines for hours. The different chapters, their unique characteristics, their tactics.
Maybe we should do follow-up episodes on specific chapters? Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Imperial Fists?
Oh, that's a great idea. Let us know in the comments which chapters you'd like us to cover next.
Thanks for joining us in the lore room today, everyone. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. But at least we can talk about it in a cozy podcast studio.
Until next time, keep your bolter loaded and your faith strong. For the Emperor.
For the Emperor.